So no question, the big story from the NBA this past week was the trade of Rajon Rondo by the Boston Celtics to the Dallas Mavericks. It was inevitable. The Celtics were going to trade Rajon Rondo. It's been something that's been talked about for a couple of years now. It wasn't a matter of if it was going to happen, it was going to be when and how soon. And finally, the trigger was pulled. Boston found a package, I guess, that they liked. And it was the Dallas Mavericks and Mark Cuban that stepped to the forefront and said, we want that guy as part of our team. And now looking at it, the Mavericks are obviously in a win now mode. They want to win another championship with Dirk Nowitzki while they still can. And they know they kind of have to go all in at this point in time. And the Boston Celtics are in a rebuild mode. They know they weren't getting anywhere with Rajon Rondo. He had given them some good years, been a part of a championship team. Nice to know you, but it was time to move on. So in that sense, this was a move of necessity for all parties involved. The question to me, the bigger question though, is does this move make the Dallas Mavericks a title contending team? And I have to say that this move most certainly doesn't hurt. It helps this team quite a bit. How much of they really got better, I guess, is going to be determined. But in a way, I really do think this can make the Mavericks a championship contending team coming out of the Western Conference. When you look at the Western Conference right now, you really have like 8 or 9 teams, and then it's everybody else. But I don't know that there's a huge level of separation between those top 8 or 9 teams, of which the Dallas Mavericks, are among that mix. Even when you look at the top team in the West right now, the Golden State Warriors, they're doing really well in the regular season. They're a really hot team right now, but do they have the right type of makeup, the right type of formula to be truly a championship contending team instead of just a great regular season team that only goes so far in the playoffs? You look at the Spurs, they're another year older. They haven't been so great in the regular season so far, but we know come playoff time that it's going to be a different story and that they will be a force to be reckoned with. You have the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're starting to rebound with Durant and Westbrook, for the most part healthy, but how effective are they going to be? How much of a force are they really going to be? Then you have the teams like the Portland Trailblazers and the Memphis Grizzlies gotten off to a good start. Are they legit? The Houston Rockets have gotten off to a good start. Are they legit? The Clippers are off to an okay start. Are they legit? A lot of teams kind of jumbled in there in the same mix, and the Dallas Mavericks are kind of among that mix. They're a good team, but how good are they really in there? Are they really structured and built for playoff success? Well, you look at this acquisition of Rajon Rondo. What this does to me is it improves the perimeter defense of the Dallas Mavericks, which is something that I thought was going to be a big sore spot, especially with Chandler Parsons at the 3 and Monte Ellis at the 2. It also gives this team a much-needed facilitator for the Dirks, the Parsons, and the Monte Ellises of the world. It also gives them a guy that can really impact the game without having to dominate the ball necessarily, without having to jack up a bunch of shots. Rajon Rondo can be, that Jason Kidd very light type of guy that could score 2 points but still have a huge impact on the game due to his ability to facilitate, due to his ability to defend, due to his ability to rebound. The Dallas Mavericks needed that type of leader. They needed that type of point guard. They needed that type of utility player that could do a bunch of different things, a jack of all trades, but maybe a master of none. And now you look at this Mavericks team and you see an aging but still somewhat effective Dirk Nowitzki. You see Chandler Parsons. You see a Monte Ellis. And you throw a Rajon Rondo into the mix. And I really like the construction of this team. And I think at this point in time, this could make the Mavericks a legit contender out of the Western Conference. I mean, you need a point guard in the West especially in order to be able to contend. There's just too many good point guards on too many teams. You have to have that point guard. If you don't, you will run into trouble against a Russell Westbrook or a Tony Parker or a Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, or what have you. The Mavericks knew that in order to be able to take that next step and contend maybe for one more championship while they still had Nowitzki at a level where he could still be a big-time player, they had to go get a guy. And I love this deal for Rondo, not so much because of the player they bring in, but the fact that there's not necessarily any long-term ramifications to them. Rajon Rondo's contract, I believe, will be up soon. So if they don't want to re-sign him long-term, they don't have to. But if they want to, the opportunity is there. Then you also look at it, too, that the price that they gave to the Celtics in order to get him wasn't all that incredibly steep. A couple of players, I think maybe a pick or two. It wasn't a really huge price to pay. The price that they paid compared to what they could potentially get in return It was a great deal. It was a very low risk, a very high potential reward type of situation for the Dallas Mavericks. I really, really like this move for this team. I thought this was a great way of striking before maybe the Houston Rockets did, who desperately needed somebody like a Rajon Rondo as well. This was a real opportunity for the Dallas Mavericks to improve themselves in the right area, in the right way, and they've done just that. And the good thing for a Rajon Rondo coming into the Dallas Mavericks, is the fact that he's not going to be expected to be a big-time scorer. He's not going to be expected to be the man. He's on a team with other guys like Nowitzki, like Monte Ellis, like Chandler Parsons. He's nothing more than maybe the fourth option on the floor offensively. And then defensively, that's where you could see a big impact from Rajon Rondo with him along with Tyson Chandler. The Mavericks needed to get better defensively on the perimeter. They needed a facilitator. They needed a guy that could rebound. They needed a lot of different things that Rajon Rondo could provide. Will the Dallas Mavericks win an NBA championship this year? I don't know about all of that. But did this move do what it needed to do? Did this move the Mavericks forward? Did this move bring the Mavericks up a level and at least give them the opportunity to potentially contend in the Western Conference and perhaps contend for an NBA championship this season? Oh, I most certainly think it does. This was a really good move by the Dallas Mavericks. Not a lot to give up, a whole lot of potential return. You had to do this deal. You had to preempt the Houston Rockets or somebody else in the Western Conference from doing it, and that's exactly what Mark Cuban and the Mavericks did. Hats off to them. This was a really, really good move for a team that needed this type of impact player to come in and kind of change the landscape for the organization this season and potentially beyond.